Yeah.
Welcome to the Rhinebeck Scoop. I'm your host, Jennifer C., and I'm dishing out social commentary about our beloved town. If you like this show, please give it 5 stars on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Also, tell a friend. Rhinebeck, this is your radio show, so please give me topics you'd like me to discuss. DM me, email me, or leave me a voicemail. And if you'd like to be anonymous, I understand it's a small town. I won't say your name unless you specify. Today, we are discussing our reflections on the earthquake and eclipse, how to make a great first impression in RBK, and why parents need to stop enabling their adult children. All right, so a little bougie chat first. Did you guys, Matty and Jen, did you feel the earthquake that occurred on April 5th?
We did not.
No?
We were in the studio recording, and our phones lit up. We each got like 50 texts, like bing, 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 bing. But nothing here.
Apparently, everybody we know felt it based on the text messages.
Yeah, so I was in my house, and I remember where I was. I was in the bathroom putting on some makeup. I did not feel it. I was surprised. My neighbors were texting me. They're like, did you just feel that? Did you just feel that? And I did not feel it. And I thought that was strange because I talked to a couple of people where they were in the shower and they didn't feel it. And that makes more sense to me. But me just standing there at the bathroom mirror, you would think I would feel it. My dogs didn't react. Nothing. We had a solar eclipse on April 8th. Tell me about your experiences.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. So I wasn't excited, but the Morton Library in Rhinecliff they were giving out complimentary glasses. So I took a bunch and gave them to some friends. And I was in New York City. I went to Central Park. And the most amazing thing happened. It was quiet.
Wow.
I've never experienced that. It was quiet. There was not a baby crying, not a dog barking, no fighting, no music, nothing. Everyone just stopped, and everyone was looking simultaneously up at the sun, and it was, I mean, as cool as it was to see, it was this really, really like a warm hug. It was unbelievable.
That's amazing. It was silent in Central Park.
Yes.
Wow. I thought you were going to say like Jesus came out of the clouds or something like that. I was ready for that, but that's even more amazing than Jesus coming out of the clouds. Matty.
I wish I had been in Central Park. That would have been fun.
Yeah.
No, but I was in Rhinecliff, and we had, I think, 94% eclipse. It was great. The lighting. There was suddenly the birds stopped chirping a little bit, and obviously the eclipse itself and the way the moon rotated so that it started with a crescent and ended with a smile. Mm-hmm. So it was a great experience.
So I was on my farm, and my husband had told me that his welding equipment, you can wear a welding helmet. So we wore welding helmets. So it was really funny. It was like kind of Star Wars looking, and we were looking up, and I thought it was cool. I wasn't bowled over by it, but I thought it was cool. I thought something that was interesting is they always say that animals really feel things like that, right? And my cows couldn't have given 2 shits. Like they were just sitting out there, no reaction. My dogs had no reaction to it. So I found that really funny. But overall, it was a cool thing. I found that it was interesting how social media now heightens certain events. So I felt like Easter this year was really heightened. Like super heightened. And I'm hardly on social media, but I felt like everyone was like, Easter, Easter, Easter. And I'm only on one Instagram account. Maybe it's my friends. I don't know. But I felt like everyone was really getting into Easter. And I felt the same way about the eclipse. Like the exact same way. Go ahead.
For sure, the eclipse. I mean, I wasn't even aware of it. I mean, I had heard about it, but then it really did get heightened. And you know, it kind of created an excitement. But I have to say, Easter was like, I don't know. I guess it's having all those Jew friends.
I was just going to say, you're both Jewish, so maybe your friends, you don't have many people who celebrate.
Friends too.
Got some chocolate eggs.
The malted chocolate eggs. Those were really good.
Yeah.
Oh, yummy. So moving on, we have now a subset of Boujee Banter called Dear Jennifer, kind of like Dear Abby, except I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So, I received an amazing voicemail from an anonymous listener. She did not say, hey, use my name, so I'm not going to use her real name. We'll just call her Lily. Lily had a question for us: how to make the best first impression as someone who's moved into the area and who hopes to be here full time. She said she wants to graciously join the community. Now, and something she said that I found interesting, she said, I don't want to commit faux pas as a part-timer. So I was just curious, do you know what these faux pas are that she was talking about?
Did you mention something on a previous episode, maybe? About driving?
Oh, yeah. Driving, sure.
Maybe
Yeah.
Maybe she meant something. Maybe she was a listener, and so she
Oh,
wanted
yeah,
to...
maybe. Yeah, when I've like shit all over people. Yeah, sure.
Correct.
Absolutely. So, Matty, Jen, do you guys have any ideas before I get into my ideas of how she should make the best first impression here?
I think that we live in a very sweet community. So if people make eye contact, you make eye contact. People say hello, you say hello. You're friendly. You let people make left-hand turns at the light. And I don't even have to tell you which light. Mm-hmm. There are crosswalks in Rhinebeck in the village, and it's customary to stop for pedestrians and give them the opportunity to cross. So like very, I think, basic, polite interactions with your neighbors would be super helpful.
Good advice.
I would say get a library card, go to the library, go to events, go to the farmer's market, do things at local places where locals shop, although other people shop at the farmer's market too. But, you're going to meet people, and you're going to meet the vendors, you're going to go to local stores like the Epicurean, and I think that would be a way I would do it.
And you can volunteer.
Yeah.
If you like the farmer's market, you can volunteer there. If you like the library, you can volunteer there. And then you'll meet people, because there are lots of different groups that are free. Once you can hook into something, you're just going to find your people.
Okay, these are really solid pieces of advice. Lily, you got to listen to them, but I have some really good pieces of advice too.
Go for it.
And that is, okay, number one, let's say, so Jen was saying about the farmer's market, you go to the farmer's market. And of course, we only have wonderful, beautiful, amazing experiences at the farmer's market. But let's just say someone's having an off day and maybe you don't have the best experience at the farmer's market. You just keep that shit to yourself. Do not say that to anyone else. Do not criticize a beloved Rhinebeck establishment, because trust me, I've done it. 6 months later, I'm still hearing about it. So absolutely do not do that. You know what I'm saying? And then also, Jen, you had also hooked onto this too. Learn how to properly drive a car, a moving vehicle. For the love of God, I cannot watch these city drivers anymore. Remember, you guys, I have my amazing driving school, $400 an hour. I'll give some of the proceeds here to Radio Free Rhinecliff.
Thank you.
Yeah, so anyone who wants to sign up for that, we're good. Now, on a serious note, you guys had touched upon this. I had a really good experience volunteering at Rhinebeck Reformed Church. You don't have to be religious. I'm not religious. And I helped with their food pantry for a year. And it was really fun. I met some really interesting, cool people, and people you wouldn't think you would meet at a food pantry. For example, I remember I met this guy who, I think he takes photographs for famous celebrities or paints for famous celebrities or does something like that. And then you meet someone else who is, a lot of people were teachers in our schools, so they know a lot about the community, and that it's a really good place. So I know that Rhinebeck Reformed has a food pantry, and then I think Church of the Messiah does as well. Okay. So things like that. When the pandemic was going on, for a hot second, I was involved very quickly in Rhinebeck Responds, and that was really good. Even from those, quick meetings over Zoom, I met some great people. I mean, if you listen to this radio show, that's how I know Mark First. That's how I know Allison Chowla. That's how I know a lot of these people. So that's really good. I think, Jen, you're right. Volunteering is a big deal. And then also, I recommend subscribing to the Hudson Valley Pilot and Daily Catch. You will find great events, great volunteer opportunities, and just look for that. And Lily, I love your voice. You seem like you have great energy. Didn't she have a really good voice?
for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. And you sound like a sane human. So if so, DM me. We'll meet up for coffee. I would love to meet you. But you want to think about that, though, because it's probably best for your reputation just to associate with a better caliber of people in this town. But other than that, yeah. So I hope that fully answers your question. Thank you so much. And again, you guys, I'm happy to answer any and all questions about RBK, especially if you're a city person wondering about us. And you can leave me a voicemail, email, or DM. Okay, let's move on to white people problems because this shit lights me up. This shit lights me up. So, okay, TheGuardian.com says nearly half of U.S. parents are helping their adult children cover living costs. Okay, so let's talk about this. I want to read about this guy named Roberto, who was quoted in the article, and he has an interesting story. So, Roberto, do you know this, Matty?
No. Yes.
You read this?
Yes.
Yeah. Roberto, 60, from Santa Cruz, California, which, by the way, isn't cheap, has been giving his adult son $2,000 each month since last summer to help him cover living costs. My son is 29, he says. He has a college degree in math and finished an intensive 3-month boot camp in data analysis 10 months ago, which cost $15,000. He has been looking for a job matching his training and abilities, but has not found anything so far. He and his wife are renting a small studio, and my payments basically cover the rent. I have been supporting him in this way for the past 7 or 8 months. Then he goes on to say, this is my favorite part. Roberto says that his son has worked various jobs, including as a postal worker since he left college. Not having work experience in his area of expertise seems to be the biggest roadblock. But here's the kicker, is he says, my son could get a job in a supermarket or at Trader Joe's, but those are not his career goals. It's not what he's trained for, and those are low-paying jobs. I don't want him to compromise. All right, so now let me go on and just start venting because I really have a lot to say on this. And it's funny because I'm not a parent, but I love to give parenting advice, not being a parent, right? No one wants to listen to this shit. But here's my issue with this is how about Roberto's son? First of all, why are you living in an expensive area of the country? If you really don't have that much money, move to another part of California where you commute like everyone else. I don't understand. Number 2, why aren't you working 2 to 3 jobs like everyone else has done before you? I was getting my master's degree. I was working 2 jobs. I think I did a 3rd side hustle. I don't understand the absolute laziness and entitlement. I don't get it. And what? Matty, it's true. Is this not true?
Do you want a full answer?
Hold on, I'm not done. Okay. So I just don't understand. I picked up a restaurant job to pay off my student loans. I hate working in restaurants. I can't stand it. I did it for a few years and I paid off all my student loans. It was torture. I didn't like 1 second of it, but I had to suck it up because that's called being an adult. And I also don't understand that these parents are taking away the experiences of growing and learning in the workforce. Sometimes you have jobs you don't like. Sometimes you work with people you don't like. Sometimes you don't make as much money. And I don't understand why people are taking away these experiences. I'm very confused. And by the way, see, I told you I was going on an event. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with working at Trader Joe's. There's nothing wrong with working at Starbucks. They provide great benefits. They provide a decent salary. They provide tuition reimbursement. So I don't understand what the problem is. So I would give my child a little money if they were a hustler. Like if I saw my kid was down in the city, wanted to be an actor, had 2 restaurant jobs. On top of it was maybe tutoring. I saw they were doing 3 jobs. They were barely paying rent. I would probably, if I had the money, throw it in. But my kid has to prove that they're doing something. How do you guys feel?
It's a complicated question. Complicated issue, I should say. Essentially, you're describing millennials at 29, which is the person in that article. The millennial generation, and also Gen Z afterward, but starting with the millennial generation, is the first generation since 1800 in the United States to earn less money than their parents. So we have something quite new. A lot of things are conflating at the same time. The highest housing costs in the history of the country. They're actually making less than their parents. So this generation does get more help from their parents, partly also because the generation of parents that were right before them are part of the helicopter generation of parents who are more involved in their kids than previous generations. So millennials and Gen Z are a product of their parents. If there's anything in them, it's because of the previous generation. They're not that different. Every generation likes to pick on the next generation. So they're not lazy or entitled on the whole. There are some that definitely are. And that's just what I see.
Right. We have the podcast, Lazy and Entitled. When I said it, it just clicked. So everyone listen to that too, because that's good for millennial perspective. Jen?
I think you bring up a lot of valid points.
And you're a parent, so I'd love to hear about this.
Well, I think you do bring up valid points. I do think that it's hard to watch your child struggle if you have the resources. It's also hard to, and knowing how much rent costs, you know, there are certain things that when your child is working at least 40 hours a week and they're making much less than what they honestly can do to afford a phone, rent, transportation, food. If you have the resources, I mean, certainly I subsidized my older one and he makes a lot of money and he saved that money and he bought his own condo, you know, and my younger one, you know, is working full time at a hospital as a transport and he took the semester off and he's living in his dad's house and you know what? And he's saving money. There's no way he can't live on that, even in Kingston, New York. There's just no way. So I hear what you're saying. And to be honest with you, I had to, I mean, Matt also, but like, I mean, I had to hustle. I also worked 2 jobs to pay off my loans and, you know, and I worked in college and all that. But like, let me tell you what, if my parents were willing to subsidize me, I wouldn't have been like, no, please don't give me any money. You know, I'm going to be proud. No, I would have loved it. It's just, it wasn't even an option.
Why do they need the nicest cell phone? Like, I don't get it. Like, why do you need the Apple 16 or whatever the hell's out now? I have a whatever the hell it is, an S20, whatever it is. You don't need that. You don't need the nicest car. I'm sorry,
right.
But you don't.
But you're right. And not every, and to be fair, a good amount of the older kids, I can't speak to the younger ones, but the old ones, they're not driving, you know, BMWs. They're not driving, they may have the newest cell phone. I don't know. But certainly their cars aren't reflecting that level of taste. It's really about making ends meet. But they could do it better, right? Maybe they don't need new clothes. They don't need to, you know, go out to dinner or have a Starbucks or whatever. But like, you know, it's not, some of it's just not as exaggerated as it's portrayed.
The biggest expense is rental.
Sure.
And so for the first time in modern history, rental is now 40% on average of income. That wasn't the case for people's parents in Gen X. That was at 20%. That's a huge difference. And so when you're earning less and you're spending more on the most basic, you can't, switching a phone, whether it's a few $100s less, is wonderful. But if your basic income, and we're not even talking about utility costs, are the highest they've ever been. Every single expense. So it's really not comparable to Gen X complaining about it because we're not in the same realm at this point.
I disagree, and I'll tell you why I disagree. You don't need to live in the city. You don't need to live in Dutchess County. You don't need to live in Westchester County. You don't need to live in San Francisco. What I would tell my kid is I would say, you know what, find a work-from-home job and move to the middle of the country. You'll do much better there.
We'll agree to disagree.
But I do understand what you're saying. Rent is so high. I don't know how these kids are affording it. It's insane. So I do agree with that. Just want to say one thing before we quickly move on, and that is Alan. He's an attorney. He's from Minnesota. He was also quoted in this article. And I love this guy because he gave his daughter $100,000 for a down payment for a house and loaned her $450,000, half of the remaining mortgage. You are entitled to do that if you have enough money. That is Alan's choice and his free choice. I have no problem with that. Here's the problem is he says that his daughter and her partner have well-paying jobs, but never seem to have any extra money. They're always going out for coffee, going out for dinner, splurging on this and that. And then he says later in the article that he's nervous that he's not raising or hasn't raised an independent adult, and I don't think my child will reach old age with any savings. I mean, I'm sorry, that's ridiculous.
There's always examples of anything. So, people do different things.
And the reason I stress this is because I know a few people like this. I know a few people where I know someone, for example, who the child went to Iceland. The child's 29 and the father paid for the whole Iceland bill. And I'm like, wait a minute, this person doesn't even have a job. How the hell are they going to Iceland? So it's things like that I just think are a little ridiculous. I understand the trust fund babies. I understand if you have plenty of money.
I don't think there's one way to parent, and my values are different from other people's values. I wanted my kids were very fortunate. They had parents who paid for their college, which is something that that was like my dream, that somebody would pay for my college, and I still made my kids work. So they were the exception in their classes that they had to...
Because you raised them that way, and your kids are hustlers. You were saying you help your older child, but your older child has a job, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying.
And so does my younger one, by the way.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like, they have jobs. They're functional humans. So...
functional human is in the eye of the beholder, but yes.
All right. So we have to move on because of time. So my sweet of the moment is, I have two today, and that is I don't have adult children, and I don't have to pay for their lazy asses. So that's number one. Number two is, this one's a big one, guys. Get ready. This one's big. You ready? Mm-hmm. Okay. I am able to eat gluten again. Something miraculous happened.
What?
Something miraculous happened that took away almost all of my food sensitivities. And I will be discussing it next episode.
Oh my God,
happened.
That's amazing.
Wow. Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I would have brought a donut had I known.
More donuts. And then my sour of the moment this morning, my husband, I love him. He's the best. But he decided to make pancakes in the new Le Creuset, and he completely burned it. So I just want everyone to pray for the Le Creuset because that was really upsetting for me. That shit is expensive.
Marshall's has great Le Creusets sometimes for like $40, $50.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just weird colors.
Okay, I went to the wrong place.
I have many Le Creuset stories. I have to say them off the air, though.
Okay. Are they really raunchy?
They're just all different things.
Okay, interesting. To leave feedback on anything I've said today, I'd love to hear all of it. Agree with me. Tell me I'm wrong, whatever you want. Call and leave a voicemail at 845-307-7446 or email me at comments@radiofreerhinecliff.org. You can check out my 3 podcasts at freespiritpodcast.com and follow me on Instagram at freespiritpodcast. This radio show is produced by me, Jennifer C., Matty Rosenberg, and Jen Hammoud at Radio Free Rhinecliff. Until next time, for those of you who are celebrating Passover, like my 2 Jewish people here, that starts April 22nd. Do you guys know that?
Yes.
Okay, good. I have a Goy calendar, so I wasn't sure. This is also the same as Earth Day. And then the next day, April 23rd, is a full moon. So you guys, you have to expect a lot happening astrologically. There's going to be a lot of transformation, so just get ready for it. The next show will drop on Tuesday, April 30th, 2024. See you in 2 weeks. Love you, RBK.
Yeah.